Thank you. I meant to fade that down all nice and easy like, but that also works too. You probably know what that means with the music ending. That means we're going to officially get started. And I am very excited for this session with you. So please join me as we come along. As I said earlier, I'm just so grateful to see there are 28 total people here. This is incredible. This is all about the 2023 application cycle for the Alt Protein project. My name is Nathan Algrim. I am the academic community manager at GFI. And what that means is that I have the privilege of working directly with students from across the globe as they work within the Alt Protein project to help their universities grow into the engines of education, research, and innovation in the Alt Protein space. Now, of course, I do not do this by myself. I see many of our team members on the call. Everyone who has GFI after their name is a part of the team. So that is something that we'll be talking about a little bit later, is how much support you will have as members of the Alt Protein project. Because with a global community, I certainly couldn't manage everything by myself. So you can see some of the amazing team here. Just so you know what to expect, I really only plan to spend about half of this hour presenting, because I really do believe that sometimes the best information is that you have specific questions about, either that I just didn't think to bring up or is specific to your case. So I'll be dedicating a lot of time at the end for Q&A. And so if you have any questions during the presentation, you are welcome to drop that into the chat. Some of my amazing team will be monitoring that chat throughout. And if it's something that really should be addressed right away, they are welcome to interrupt me to make sure that it is addressed in the moment. Otherwise, we'll make sure all of those questions get answered at the end. Now, being a previous college educator, I would be remiss if I did not say that there's about to be a lot of words on these slides. And I know as a student, I always thought like that meant that I had to take notes on everything. Please know that is not the expectation. We will be making this recording available afterwards. So all of the information that is on the slides will be available to you afterwards, because my goal is for you to just kind of take this time to learn, think about how it might apply to you, not really needing to worry as much about taking notes. All right, so let's get going. We're going to start, of course, with the introduction to the project and GFI in general, go over kind of the program criteria, application, little tips and tricks for what will make a successful application, and then, of course, why we think the Alt Protein project is such a wonderful opportunity and how we will support you. So to start, of course, the big question of what it is. Now, before I do answer the question of what the Alt Protein project is, I do think it's important to frame the Alt Protein project within the mission and goals of GFI. And I'm sure many of you are already familiar with GFI, because that's probably why you're here, is you learned about us and got excited about what we do. I am also familiar with GFI, shockingly, but I do think it's important to kind of come back and ground ourselves in the mission of what we do here. So as you see on the slide, that we acknowledge the challenge of how our food systems are right now, that current meat, egg, and dairy production is unsustainable and inefficient. It's a key driver of a lot of negative effects, including climate change, environmental degradation, and antibiotic resistance. So at GFI, our theory of change and our mission is that we believe we can create meat, eggs, and dairy more sustainably and efficiently by making them from plants, cultivating them directly from cells, and producing them from fermentation. So we acknowledge that asking consumers, asking just people to give up foods they love is not the easiest ask. It hasn't been the most effective in trying to affect this change. So what we do at the Good Food Institute is accelerating the transition to alternative proteins by changing the default option to products that are delicious, affordable, and accessible as alternative proteins. And it stopped listening to me. Yes, highlighting those. I forgot I did that. So as a more global perspective, the Good Food Institute, it is a 501c3 nonprofit. And as I said, our driving mission is to create a sustainable, secure, and just protein supply. Now, that encompasses a lot of areas of focus. Our three primary areas of focus here are science and technology, so really enabling the new research, the new abilities to create those products, create those alternative proteins that can allow that transition. Of course, corporate engagement, because we need somebody to sell those products and promote those products, and policy, which includes funding from governmental levels, as well as regulatory information about as these new products come online. Now, with the Alt Protein project, we actually, as a team, are housed within the science and technology arm of the Good Food Institute, because we really do believe that research universities are that amazing area of growth for the alternative protein sector, both in terms of product development and in terms of developing the next generation of leaders within the sector. As you see here, we have affiliates across the globe. So the Alt Protein Project team is based in the US, but we also have international affiliates, some of which I see represented here in Brazil, Europe, Israel, India, and the Asia Pacific region. As I discussed a little bit, the Alt Protein Project is really grounded on that theory of change that universities can become those alternative protein hubs, because we acknowledge that student leaders are the ones that can be driving that growth and that change, so that the alternative protein sector has both the research acumen and the talent that it needs to grow. So we have 5 large objectives in the alternative protein project. The first is just general awareness, because many people are not familiar with both the opportunities, but just what alternative proteins are. They are very used to, how they grew up and eating, and they haven't been keeping up with all of these really exciting advancements in food technology and what is available. Part of this also includes community building, of course, because part of what we love about the Alternative Protein Project is it brings so many wonderful people together who all have a shared mission. And then much more specific to the university side, we help our student groups foster education within their university by building alternative protein classes, sometimes modules within classes, even majors and degree programs for alternative protein specific scientists and engineers, as well as academic research and innovation, so translating that research into a product. And I fully recognize that I am biased as I present this to you, but I really do believe that it all comes down to student leaders in the university. And it's so important because there is just such a huge gap in alternative proteins to where it can be. So right now, it's less than plant-based meats, alternative proteins are less than 2% of the total meat market. That is a huge gap and area of opportunity. I mean, as one example, it wasn't until I believe 2020 that there was a single alternative protein course at any university. And since then, we have seen course after course and module come to fruition because of groups just like these. And that's why I'm so excited about it. Now, in terms of growth, we've been around since 2020, and our pilot cohort was this right where you see here, 6 groups, fabulous groups, absolutely fundamental to our time as a community and as a project. But this is where we are now. It is some really exciting and explosive growth. We have 30 active chapters, as you can see, from around the world. And that's what we're doing now, is we are looking to expand even more. When it comes to our community today, some of those 30 chapters, we see our groups doing so many fabulous things to address all aspects of those 5 objectives that I discussed earlier. We see groups doing food tastings at alternative protein companies, some of which I'm very jealous about because I actually have yet to taste some of these things, and it's just, I haven't been here long, so I'm still holding out hope, but we'll see. They also, as I said, organize classes fundamental to alternative protein education. They host career panel nights from industry experts. We have even had representatives from one student group present and represent their group at COP27 last year. And so if that is any indication, they are doing some absolutely incredible things. To give just a brief snapshot of some of the tangible things that we are doing, and I do want to highlight, this is just in the past 6 months. You can see that our groups really have touched many, many students. Again, with that awareness building, a lot of people who just wouldn't otherwise know a lot about alternative proteins. So right now we have just under 500 active members with thousands of more tangentially related people. But as I had said, we have courses coming online exclusively because of the advocacy and work that our student leaders have done, as well as research projects. So students actually, and this is something that I really didn't appreciate when I was at university, you can be drivers. You can actually, you can steer whichever lab you are working in to address a problem that is important to you. And that is something that many of our students have advocated for in their laboratories as well. Our groups have also hosted many, many events to thousands of attendees, a lot with food, because of course we've got a lot of delicious options here, but as I had said, many other topics as well, including professional networking nights and career panels. Now, when it comes to our program itself, what we really do look for is a partnership with a research university, because we have found that those institutions are the ones that have foundations for a long-lasting ecosystem. And again, there's a lot of text here. You don't need to memorize it. I just want to throw that out again. We are looking for universities that do have strong programs in a science that is related to alternative protein development. Now, I say that, but that really encompasses a lot of different scientific disciplines. Alternative proteins, kind of by definition, is incredibly interdisciplinary. And even from the big broad umbrellas, you can think physics, chemistry, biology, and all of the specialties within those really do have something to say and improve upon when it comes to alternative proteins. It does also help if your university is located within a region that has established agricultural technologies, biotechnologies, or manufacturing, because that allows for that university business partnership. But this will be probably the first of many times that I talk about our commitment to a diverse community within the Alt Protein Project. Because as I said, our partner universities do need to be engaged in research so that we can effectively partner with them. But that's not the same. I'm not trying to say we only accept one kind of university. Now, as I describe this, you might be thinking like, what we're looking for is really only like the big research powerhouses. In the US, we consider these R1 institutions. And those are fantastic partners, but also universities that would fall under the category of land-grant universities, minority-serving institutions, and even some primarily undergraduate institutions definitely fit the bill as possible partners with us. So I say all of this to say, if you're in doubt of whether your university is the right fit, I encourage you to not self-reject. I would love to see your application come in, and we can kind of talk about the possibilities of partnership after that application comes in. Now, when it comes to who we are looking for, we have found, and this might be something that you have experienced in the past, it's really hard to do something by yourself. So we list as one of our requirements that an application should have, at minimum, 2 co-leaders, 2 co-organizers. And requirements for both of them are probably fairly expected, including just being committed to the mission of the Good Food Institute and believing in the power of alternative proteins to address some of these most critical issues that are facing our world today. And it will also take work and dedication. So we do ask that both organizers are willing to dedicate between 5 to 10 hours per week for running a successful group. Now, at least one, so this means that if your partner carries this, that's okay, please still apply. We are looking for at least one co-organizer to be experienced in community organizing, because that definitely is a skill set that will be required as you build these communities out. We do ask that at least one is housed within one of those key scientific disciplines for alternative proteins. Again, that encompasses a lot, so we are not trying to pigeonhole anybody. And we do ask that you all have a deep familiarity, or at least one of you has a deep familiarity with the alternative protein field. Now, in saying this, I fully recognize that that might cause a few reactions of like, oh, that I don't really understand the alternative protein field that well yet. That's okay. I would love to direct you to our website and some of the other resources at gfi.org, because it really is a treasure trove of information that can get you, just by itself, that familiarity with the alternative protein field. It includes some scientific primers, deep dives if you're even more interested, and our MOOC, the free online course that can give you all of those fundamentals. So between now and your application, or now and your interview, you definitely could build up that knowledge base if you don't have it already. Moving down the list, we do ask that at least one co-organizer will not be graduating earlier than August 2025, because we have found that some level of continuity ensures that groups both start successfully and can remain successful over the course of multiple years. And then at least one has those soft skills and comfortability and familiarity with facilitating group discussions, or at least is open to training. As just kind of a shout out to training of public speaking and facilitation, I was terrified and I had to seek out deliberate training. So it is something that can be improved with practice. Now, just to run down some frequently asked questions, as I did just say, to reiterate, we do require a co-founder for the reasons I just outlined. And when I say student, we do actually open the Alt Protein project to anyone in a degree program. So that is undergraduate students, graduate students. I am aware that in some localities and countries, people in graduate programs aren't really considered students. If you are in a degree program, PhD, master's, undergraduate, whatever, we would definitely consider you a possibility of our student leaders. And to reiterate, we are looking for applications from anywhere and everywhere. We are a global community, and we would absolutely love for you to be the first applicant from your region if there is not one there already. Now, if I am speaking to anybody here who is not currently in a degree program, maybe you're a faculty member or someone else in a university, I would absolutely love to connect with you. You can reach out to me at my email, and we always are looking for faculty or other university champions at universities to help start building this ecosystem as well. And I'm sure you are already connected with some wonderful and interested students, so you can always share our information with them also. All right, so now moving on to the application process itself. So first step, like I said, find yourself a good team, because these are going to be the ones that really help you be that positive change maker in your university. Then the application has to come in at some point. The applications do close on March 31st. So we have just over a month left in that application window. But I would encourage you, once you do feel ready with your application materials, to apply, because we will be evaluating on a rolling basis. So it's not like we'll just arbitrarily make you wait for a month and a half or anything like that. For those who we are excited to move forward with, we will then have a brief interview. I will very likely be on there, as well as, depending on what region you are applying from, we'll have someone specific to your region who is really knowledgeable in your specific environment. And then we will have a dedicated online training program that will set you up for success with some of the hard skills, the knowledge, and we'll practice some of the soft skills to make an effective group as you enter your university ecosystem. And then once August rolls around, that's the official time that you will join. You can tell all of your family and friends and start really working towards that sustainable, secure, and just protein ecosystem. There we go. So as I said, applications are due on March 31st. The application link is probably something you already have, but this is just a reminder. And something that I do want to highlight is that we aren't looking for an extraordinarily eloquent essay. I don't need you to be agonizing over the words of your application. We really just kind of want to get a feel for where you are, why you're excited, and what you know about the alternative protein landscape as it stands. And as part of this, kind of as I said, I would be bringing this back up. We are a global community, and we fully recognize that many of you may not be applying in your first language because it's going to be an application in English. So we will definitely be taking this into consideration as we evaluate applications. There will be no penalty for the fact that you are writing in a second, third, fourth, whatever language that might be. Again, I encourage you, please do not self-reject. We would love to see your applications come in. And also, just kind of a highlight here, we will also be doing our best. We are a US-based team, but if we're thinking about just kind of like, will this fit in your schedule? Like we are doing today with our information sessions, we will be doing our best to hold basically a duplicate of all of our training sessions and other resources that we have, so that regardless of your time zone, we are hoping that we will find something that will accommodate you as well. So looking ahead, I do just want to point out that regardless of whether we invite you to join our 2023 cohort, really what we're hoping for is that you become alternative protein champions at your university, regardless of our decision. Part of what GFI believes in and promotes is open access research, open access information, which basically means it's free to everybody. So like I said, I already kind of plugged our website. Pretty much all of our resources are available to everybody, whether you are a student group or not. So you can utilize our student group resource hub and all of the other forms of information that we have, because if you are able to do that and you still start an alternative protein focused student group at your university, that will make you a wonderful candidate for when we open up applications in the following year. Now, of course, what I just said, frankly, does beg the question, if everything is available to us, regardless of whether we are a group, what do we gain? And I would not be the academic community manager of the Alt Protein Project if I did not fully believe in our community. So when it comes to how GFI will support you, we have so much expertise and support behind this project that can really make whatever group you start all the more effective in all of the objectives that you are hoping to achieve. So one of the things is that training program that I just mentioned. So we will offer hands-on training in a lot of these different skills, such as just crafting and delivering the alt protein message. And that will be specific to your region, because different regions, different cultures will have different areas of focus in terms of what goals are and maybe what some of the criticisms and common critiques are. We'll also be helping you walk through the science and the industry of alternative proteins, some skills and workshops on building an effective team, creating impactful events, with some of our other objectives as well, including developing coursework, starting research projects. We will also be helping you map your university ecosystem so you can target your efforts in the most impactful way for all of the effort that you are putting in. When it comes to that support that I was talking about, we will be giving you that one-on-one mentorship that will basically help you learn from people who have been doing this for a really long time. This is something that, unfortunately, I did not have a specific alternative protein group when I was in school. Those didn't really exist. I won't tell you when I graduated because I don't want to think about how old I am. But I did have mentors in other avenues that were the only reason, frankly, I was successful in my pursuit of my graduate studies in the sciences. I really do believe in the power of mentorship, and this is one of the best things that I do believe we offer. And when it comes to the people who can mentor you, we have such an incredible team of advisors. Everyone on the top row is currently on the call, myself, Asia, Hannah, and Amy. And we have a number of our international affiliates on the call, and so many subject matter experts. Whether you have a specific passion for plant-based meat, cultivated meat, fermentation, policy, the communications of the message, we have people at the Good Food Institute who dedicate their professional lives to that and can provide such incredible mentorship. And just to reiterate, even though the Alt Protein Project team is based within the US, we will also be providing regional mentorship. People who work at our affiliates who are much more knowledgeable about the regional ecosystem than I might be, because I am living and breathing in the American context. But just to highlight again, in the interim, while you are thinking about your application, while you are preparing your application, please dig into our resources. We have the State of the Science and Industry reports for all aspects of the alternative protein sector. We have a pre-existing guide for how you can kind of enter in to the alternative protein space. And I already kind of highlighted this. We have our student resource hub with walkthroughs and different strategy guides for how to address some of those objectives, like education, like research. Now, all of this is kind of the tools we give, but honestly, we also have just a fantastic community that is just fun to be a part of. We have monthly calls for our entire community, again, multiple times in the day, because we don't want to ask anybody to show up at 2 o'clock in the morning unless that's your thing. But these are times where we can just kind of build skills together, continue upon that training program with curriculum design, if that is your goal, with event planning, if that is your goal. And sometimes we just like hang out and cook together. It's a great time. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. Again, that regional mentorship is key, I would say. And we also just kind of support each other on social media. We have a community Slack so that resources that one group finds doesn't have to be refound by every other group. Also, kind of the reality of the world we live in is having an institution like GFI support you can be extraordinarily beneficial because we can help signal boost anything and everything that you do. We have access to, again, so many subject matter experts that can serve as speakers at your event, but also any sort of event that you have, any sort of connection that you would like to make with a professor, having GFI to support that communication, support that interaction, really can amplify your efforts as you go forward. Finally, you can definitely use the Alt Protein project to be that first stepping stone or just catapult yourself into the alternative protein space. We have had multiple students land internships, land jobs, and a few even create their own startups in the alternative protein sector because of the connections and the skills they made in our program, in our community. And remember, this has only been around since 2020, so we do expect to see more and more of these coming up. And really, landing these positions can be kind of thought about as a natural culmination of your time with the Alt Protein project. But remember, there's so much more to the community than just getting a job, whether your passion is research, entrepreneurship, education, or, and I would not hold this against you, just like some amazing food. I really believe that the Alt Protein project is a fantastic way to make those dreams a reality. So I said at the beginning that I would leave plenty of time to ask questions and kind of turn this into a discussion. So at this point, I have said my piece. I hope that you can see just how excited I am about the prospect of welcoming so many of you into our community. I also fully believe that I've left some questions unanswered. So now I will turn it over to that Q&A session. As a reminder, you are welcome to drop your question in the chat at any time, or you can unmute yourself at any point and we can go from there.
Hi, Nathan. Do you listen to me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I do have a question that was actually done here. Mine is a little bit more of information. I'm from Brazil. I'm actually grantee by the GFI in my master program. We were granted by those 2 years acceleration research programs. And it's coming to an end in this October. So here we have the master's degree as more similar to the PhD status than to the bachelor. So we're considered like a postgrad, not necessarily only a student. So it's a work. This way, I'm aiming to finish my master's this year, up to July. I have until October, but I might anticipate their help. So my question is, even though I don't have any document that proves that I might be until 2025 on my PhD, can I be a co-leader, or I don't have that document, I cannot be?
Thank you for asking that. And first, congratulations on becoming a grantee and nearing the end of your program. I can speak from experience at how long of a road that is. So I'm very impressed by the work you are doing. Now, to answer your question, I do not believe that we would require like any formal documentation when it comes to, like you would not need a university administrator to sign. I would strongly recommend, if you are able to find a co-leader who will also be around for a number of years, I do definitely think that that could, not just for the sake of your application, but for thinking forward in terms of the success of your student group, I definitely think that that could make it a lot smoother for you once you do start.
That's interesting. Thank you very much.
Yes. And actually, let's turn this into a little more of a friendly discussion. There we go. What else do we have? Oh, and I see that questions in the chat have already been answered. Thank you for being on top of that.
Since no one is speaking, may I continue? I'm talking.
Please do. Yes.
Sorry. So you said that we would have to have at least 5 or 10 hours a week available to do our tasks. This 5 to 10 hours a week means meetings with GFI or the tasks that we are planning to do. What so? And adding to my second question, will there be meetings frequently, oftenly? Do you plan this already with the whole world group, the America group, or the region group with GFI Brazil? Anyhow.
Thank you for asking that clarification. That's a really important one. So we ask that 5 to 10 hours that is all encompassing of anything you would be doing to support your work at the Alt Protein project. We do have a few meetings, and this would all be after the training program, because that is something that we do require all of our groups to do. But we do have a few recurring meetings that we have between Alt Protein project groups and their mentors to ensure that everybody is on track and we don't allow anyone to feel too lost without that support. So there are a few recurring meetings, but that is not what is going to be taking up the 5 to 10 hours a week.
If I could also add in here, Jorge,
Please.
Part of your question might entail how often the global community will gather. So not just meetings directly with members of GFI staff, but also meetings or community gatherings with other student groups and university chapters. Typically, those happen on a monthly basis. We host community calls, as Nathan mentioned, so that student groups have this opportunity to learn from each other, swap insights, pick up new skills, and learn from subject matter experts in the field. And so there are those types of optional engagement activities for you to continue to expand your horizons and be kind of thought partners with other university chapters. That's kind of the power of this network, in addition to those regional mentorship meetings that Nathan mentioned.
It's nice and exciting. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that, Amy. What other questions do we have?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So this is a question which is like half related to the protein project. I wanted to ask, like, also in the case if we, for example, don't get approved as a group this year, but we managed to get a course approved at university, like introductory alt protein course, is it still possible to have speakers from GFI on like specific matters to participate in the course? I don't know, just like give an insight on the EU policies and like cellular agriculture.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. And the short answer is yes, absolutely. We actually have speaking engagements with universities and other venues all the time, whether they are housed in universities that have existing Alt Protein project chapters or not. I actually have a couple coming up in a month, and my goal would be for all of them to apply, but it is not a requirement to have some of our subject matter experts to come in.
So we do
Okay.
have a great question in the chat regarding, oh, I just lost it. Is there a need for faculty support on campus? This question came from Sophie.
So when we are thinking about the application process, we do not have a requirement for an existing faculty mentor or support. We call them faculty champions. What we do strongly encourage once our groups are trained and doing their work is that they do establish that partnership, because we have seen on the ground how effective faculty partners are in terms of establishing any sort of connection within the more formal university ecosystem, whether that be curriculum-based, research-based, or otherwise.
Wonderful. And we have one more question here regarding what is financial support like for student alt protein groups?
Thank you. And that is something that I definitely should have addressed when I was talking about the support. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we do offer financial support for our groups on a biannual basis. So twice a year, you're eligible to apply for financial support from us to help with things like event planning or speaker honorariums. And then when situations arise, we sometimes offer other funding mechanisms for things like travel to GFI related symposia or conferences. You might be able to notice that I'm like refraining from giving specific numbers, and that is because we are currently reworking our funding right now. But regardless, our funding mechanisms do exist, and we do make sure to financially support our groups. You are not expected to, pay for your own Beyond sausages for a tasting party.
Another great question in the chat from Steffi. What if I can't find a co-founder? Can I get matched up with someone who has similar interest?
That is a fantastic question. When it comes to co-founding teams, we do ask that both co-founders, or all co-founders if there are more than two, are from the same university, because we do want that unified voice. And so we would first encourage you to kind of do some exploration within your university. If you work with a laboratory, or you have taken a course that kind of got you interested in this, I would suggest asking your professor or just talking to your classmates. But if we do see, of course, another interest form come in from your university, we can definitely connect you with that person. I hope I answered your question. If not, please ask a follow-up.
And a question from Nadia. Would the interview be individual or with both co-founders present?
Yes, we would definitely encourage both co-founders to be present. If you have, a 10-person co-founding team, we might want to limit that a little bit so that we can give everybody on the call a chance to speak, but we would certainly encourage you to come with your co-founding team. Oh, yes, thank you for that. To make that a little more specific, we do ask that if you have a team of two, both people do show up. So we do require 2 people on the call, and you can have up to 3 in that interview.
A question from Isabella. Do you know if student groups typically function with funding from GFI alone, or will we need to apply for funding elsewhere as well?
That is a fantastic question. And that, I think, largely will depend on what you and your group are hoping to do and kind of the budget that will require. I do know that many universities offer funding mechanisms for student groups that can allow you both to supplement what we offer, as well as take on larger projects. As an example, we have a couple of groups currently who are organizing day-long, if not multi-day symposia, and that will require a budget much larger than what we are able to provide. They have gotten that funding directly from their university, so it can be largely dependent on what you're looking to do.
I do have another question
Yeah.
in this direction as well. So because this field is growing not only in universities, but also the matter is like the corporative systems, companies, would it be a problem to find some type of partnership with companies within this project, or this is meant to be only academic?
That's a fantastic question. I think it in part depends on what you mean by partnership. So we would like the groups themselves to be housed within a university setting. Now, many of our groups have partnered with corporate entities, businesses for, again, speakers to come in, whether that be for science or career, to have factory tours as an example, or even to sponsor a tasting event as an example. So there are definitely those industry partnerships that we encourage you, in fact, to nurture, but we do ask that the group itself is housed within the university.
Yeah, that's echoing everything Nathan said, and I'll just also add that there have been instances where student groups have received additional funding and sponsorship from companies in their local ecosystems. For example, a student group has hosted an alternative protein product tasting and made it a sensory panel. So the company got consumer feedback from the student base, which is largely their future consumer base, in exchange for some funding. And so we do see corporate partners being sometimes funding streams for student groups.
Thank you.
I see a question from Sophie in the chat. If my university does not already have a program, is there a way to know if it has been rejected?
That's an interesting question. I would say if you have concerns about that, first, I would reiterate, please do not self-reject. And with my history as a teacher, I'm not happy with the word reject, because frankly, we would love to say yes to everybody. And typically, anytime we say no to an applicant, like I said, we want you to be successful. We just don't have unlimited bandwidth. And unfortunately, we can't just say yes to everybody. So even if that is the case, I would 100% encourage you to apply anyways. Now, if you have specific concerns, or if you are asking because you want to see if interested people at your university already exist, please reach out and email me, and I can look through our records.
And we have a question about, can the groups be affiliated with other entities such as university student unions?
I will first give my answer based on what my experience with what student unions are, and I know they aren't the same everywhere. So if I don't answer it, please let me know. At my alma mater, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, our student union was kind of the umbrella, the parent organization for all student groups. And we actually do ask our APP chapters, all protein project chapters, to gain official university recognition, because that gives them a stronger voice within the university and actually helps that funding process that we've been talking about a little bit. So if that's the affiliation you're talking about, we actually encourage it. It's not just allowing it. We hope that that happens. If you are asking about affiliation with other student groups who have a slightly different focus, that would in part depend on the group, and we would probably ask that you kind of maintain an independence. You can always, of course, have a professional working relationship with other groups that are in your university. Yes, that is a great addition, Hannah. Thank you. As I've been describing these events that have come on, often it is a lot for a team of 5 to 10 to plan these huge events. So we definitely do encourage partnering with existing student groups or existing university events. That's actually a workshop that we just did with our existing community earlier this week to help kind of brainstorm how that works. And we definitely encourage those kinds of partnerships. All right, I am loving these questions. What other questions do we have? Well, we have had some great discussion. So what I will say is I'm going to hang on here until the top of the hour. If you're still kind of stewing over some questions that are formulating in your head, I won't go anywhere. But at this point, I think we have hopefully given you a lot of information for you to think about, talk to a co-founding team, and hopefully apply. I would love nothing more than to see your application come in the coming weeks, because I know that if you're here, it's because you care about the advancement of these really world-changing needs that we have. And I want to see you be able to leverage the power of alternative proteins. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will be sending out the recording of this later if you want to share this out. And like I said, I look forward to contacting you in the future about your application. Bye, everyone.